In the quiet, remote town of Blackwood, the sun sets early, shadows grow long, and the townsfolk lock their doors before the clock strikes midnight. They've learned that the darkness holds something more sinister than just the unknown. Visuals. A panoramic view of a small, eerie town surrounded by dense forest, faded old newspapers with headlines like "Blackwood Killer Strikes Again" and "No Clues Found." An ominous feeling fills the air, with subtle, haunting music underscoring the scene. Plot development. A voiceover explains that over the past year, 6 people have gone missing. The police have no leads, and each person vanished after receiving a strange call on their landline at midnight. All attempts to trace the calls failed. They came from different numbers each time. The killer is known only as the Midnight Caller. Scene 2. The Newcomer's Curiosity. Narration. One day, a young journalist, Clara, moves to Blackwood. She's heard about the strange disappearances, but rather than running away, she's drawn in. Visuals. Clara, a determined and slightly reckless young woman, reading about the case on her laptop, a stack of notes and recordings by her side. Plot development. Clara arrives in Blackwood to investigate the Midnight Caller. Her boss warned her against it, but she's desperate to find out the truth. She speaks with townsfolk who warn her to leave and insists the Midnight Caller's case is a curse. One elderly woman, Mrs. O'Reilly, gives Clara an ominous warning. It's not just a killer, he's something darker. If he calls you, don't answer. Scene 3. The First Clue. Narration. Ignoring the warnings, Clara digs into the files and learns about the eerie pattern. Visuals. Flashbacks of police reports, articles, and missing persons photos as Clara goes through them late at night in her dimly lit apartment. Plot development. Clara discovers all the victims had one thing in common. They received a call exactly at midnight, with strange background noises, heavy breathing, faint whispers, and a chilling music box melody. Each victim vanished the night they received the call, but their homes remained untouched, as if they had just stepped out. Determined to find the source of the calls, Clara decides to take a risk and sets her landline for midnight. As the clock strikes midnight, Clara sits trembling. Her phone is silent, until it's not. Visuals. Clara staring nervously at her landline as the clock ticks closer to midnight. The sound of silence becomes oppressive. Plot development. At exactly 12 a.m., her phone rings. She hesitates but answers, and hears faint breathing and the eerie music box tune. The caller whispers, "I see you," then hangs up. Clara's terrified but decides to go out, hoping the killer is nearby and can be lured out. She heads toward the woods, camera in hand. Scene 5. Into the Woods. Narration. Guided by fear and curiosity, Clara ventures into the woods, the chilling music box melody still echoing in her mind. Visuals. Dark, misty forest. Clara's flashlight cutting through the shadows, her breaths visible in the cold air. Plot development. As she goes deeper, she notices faint footprints leading to an old, decrepit cabin. She approaches the cabin and hears faint voices, realizing the music box sound is playing from inside. She pushes open the door, revealing a room filled with missing person photos, her own photo pinned in the center, freshly placed. Scene 6. Face to face with the Midnight Caller narration. At that moment, Clara knows there's no turning back. Visuals inside the cabin, cobwebs, dusty furniture, and walls lined with photos. Shadows dance across the room as the music box slows to an unnatural warping tune. Plot development. Suddenly, a figure emerges from the shadows, a man with a haunting smile, wearing a mask and whispering her name. He explains he's been watching her, fascinated by her bravery. Clara tries to run, but he blocks her path, revealing that he's killed everyone who's ever tried to investigate him. Clara realizes she may never leave the cabin, but she refuses to be a victim. Visuals. Clara backing up against the wall, the killer drawing closer, knife gleaming in his hand. In a desperate moment, Clara lunges for a nearby object, a broken piece of glass, and slashes the killer's arm, escaping his grasp. She dashes through the woods, the killer hot on her heels. Just as he's about to catch her, she reaches the edge of town where the streetlights cast shadows. The townsfolk, alerted by her screams, come out and chase the killer back into the woods. Though Clara escapes, she knows the midnight caller isn't gone. She leaves Blackwood, but the terror remains. Visuals. A news report showing Clara packing up and leaving the town, but glancing nervously over her shoulder as she does. Plot development. The story ends with Clara narrating, "Some mysteries should never be solved, but once you're marked, there's no way to escape." In the final shot, Clara is in her new apartment in a different city. The phone rings at midnight, and she freezes. Visuals. The phone ringing, her face turning pale, ending on a close-up of her wide, fearful eyes. Ending scene, fade to black, leaving an air of suspense as the phone continues ringing.